Hello and thank you for joining me today. I am Jarrell. We will be taking a look at the Onimusha Way of the Sword trailer. I think this is a very interesting trailer because it actually shows us what the game is about and it shows us gameplay. So there is actual content in the trailer that tells us about the game, which is very interesting. Not every game trailer actually shows us the game. So we have a few things to take a look at here. This video will be in two parts. The first part will be having a look at the trailer, and the second part I'll be sharing a rare item in my collection that is Onimusha related and pretty neat. So we'll go ahead and check out the trailer here. I'll keep the audio turned down. You have to be 17 and up, so you might have to ask your mommy and daddy if it's okay for you to watch this. So right off the bat, we don't see anything out of the ordinary. It just looks like, I believe this is Sengoku era, the Onimusha games, except for Onimusha 3, which partly took place in modern-day France. So we see traditional Japanese architecture and landscapes, and we see these orbs. And if you played the original Onimusha games, you already know what's going on. I'm already getting what I call orb anxiety, where if the soul orbs are floating around and you don't absorb them fast enough, they disappear. And that caused me to develop orb anxiety. So this is for fans. They'll understand, long-time players of the series. This is very exciting. We see the gauntlet, the Oni. I can't remember exactly what that component is. It's demon related. But I think everything in this just looks so fantastic. So this is sort of a scripted cinematic here, high quality visuals. But what I find most exciting about this trailer is it just immediately goes into gameplay. And what I like best is that it just looks like an Onimusha game, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is exactly what people want. This looks like an Onimusha game with modern visuals and a modern level of AAA polish, which is very, very welcome and very excited. Now, I'll have to double check, but I believe Dawn of Dreams, which was the last mainline title, I believe that was still, I think that one had real-time graphics, and the rest of the games were pre-rendered. All the visuals were sort of like the older Resident Evil titles. This looks fantastic to me. You have your high quality visuals there, then you have your gameplay here. So it starts out with a little bit of cinematic, and it's only a couple seconds of cinematic. Goes straight into the gameplay. It shows people what the game is actually about. So we get to see our protagonist. We know just enough about what the protagonist looks like, but we don't really know anything about the story. But you get the vibe and the feeling of the protagonist. And within this very short few seconds, you understand what you will be fighting against, which are these demons. We look at the gameplay here, and if you are unfamiliar with Onimusha games, which is very likely because they stopped making games in the series a very long time ago, this is an action game, but it's very reliant on timing and reacting to enemies' attacks. And the game is actually quite punishing, and in the older games, I'm a little bit worried about this modern game, because in the older games, you can actually just sort of soft lock yourself in your save file, because if you are reckless with your save, with your health items, you could end up in a position where you just don't have enough health items to get through a difficult battle or to get through the rest of the game. And the game punished you for not playing well. And I've had times where I had to start a game over or resume game from an older save file. And what I'm worried about is that the modern gaming landscape, younger audiences have not really played games like that. So younger audiences won't have the experience, and with these kinds of games, they don't have the conditioning to be very careful with health items and to play carefully. Modern games are more lenient and they have inexhaustible resources. So it's not that, oh, players are worse these days because they're younger. No, we just haven't had games that condition people to play more carefully and more deliberately. And so I'm a little bit worried that the game will be negatively received by people who haven't had experience with this kind of game, and they'll think, oh, it's not well designed. There's a lot of consideration that goes into these games, but it's punishing. And that's what I really like about the game, is that you have to play carefully. Let's see here. So, I mean, this just looks so cool. We don't see too much details, and it's just enough to show what the gameplay is. It's an action game. It doesn't show us any of the heads-up display, which I like for these trailers because it keeps things clean. There's nothing really outstanding or special about this gameplay, really, except for the fact that it just looks good. And I think that's what's important. This looks cool. That. I get sort of Batman, you know, the Arkham games, this sort of, this is the most interesting part that I see here. And I'm not sure if this is a cutscene or not, because it looks a little bit different from that. But the sort of where he's blocking there and he kicks there, I kind of feel like that might be a cutscene that's scripted. It'd be very difficult to implement that sort of thing as a developer, to implement that dynamically, but it sort of gives me the Arkham, Batman Arkham games vibes. I already get orb anxiety seeing these orbs, because I can see that he's busy fighting, and if you leave those too long, they're going to disappear, man. So this, I'm very much looking forward to this. I'm shocked. I'm shocked and surprised, as you can tell by the tone in my voice and the look on my face, as I am utterly aghast. No, in a good way, actually. Well, I'm shocked. I'm just shocked. I'm very much looking forward to this. 2026 is, it just feels like it's so far from now. So this is so cool. This game is so satisfying, or the series, is when you perfectly dodge an enemy's strike, and then you either like block or dodge, and then you perform your attack afterwards. You get a really cool flash, you get a neat sound effect, and then you get to absorb more souls, which gives you an advantage. You can upgrade your weapons sooner. Hopefully, I think to balance out, maybe the game should just let you grind a bit more easily than in previous games. It's hard to make these kind of decisions without throwing off the balance of the game, so I'm very interested to see how they're going to balance that out. So that is so cool. That is so interesting to me. I don't see anything that sort of stands out in terms of, wow, this looks game-changing or outstanding. It just looks solid. It looks cool. So the second part of this video, I will go ahead and expand using my expansion no jutsu, I guess. I don't know. Here we go. Whoop. Okay, so what I want to share from my collection is this PlayStation 2 Onimusha controller. This was designed to work with Onimusha 3, which is crazy because it co-stars Jean Reno, and you get to, there's some time travel in Onimusha 3, and you end up playing in modern day France. It's crazy. And then you get to play Jean Reno's wife at some point, and she has a gun. So cool. So very cool. If you can find a copy or find a way to play Onimusha Dawn of Dreams, that's my favorite in the series. So I have this controller. It comes with a stand so it can sit on a shelf. Now you can see I'm handling this quite gingerly, and the reason being is because the handle is made out of that kind of material that degrades over the years and has become extra sticky. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's one of those, it's sort of like a plasticky rubber, but if you touch it, your hands will get stuck to it. So I want to discuss that in a second, but I'll just show you the controls here. Is you have the two analog sticks, the D-pad. You can select a different channel as if you would bring this over to your friend's house, and then your friend also has the controller, and then you will both you'll both play a PlayStation 2 game using this. But you can actually play any PlayStation 2 game with this because it has all the controls, which my friends and I have done before. You can see where you have the L2 and R2 buttons there. I touched it. It's very sticky. And then you have the L2 and R2 buttons back there. You can even do your L3 and R3. So this is interesting. I think this is so cool. And of course there is motion detection. So you obviously want to remove the sheath, but you swing the sword and it registers as a button input, and that registers as swinging the sword in the Onimusha game, which is very cool. The box even for this looks really cool. That's sitting up on the shelf. So this is melty rubber. I've looked up online, and it seems to be that the materials are just breaking down, and that's all there is to it. Either there are oils in the material or a plasticizer, and they're just leaching to the surface. And some materials you can clean with rubbing alcohol, but over time more oil or plasticizer will leach to the surface. So that's a temporary solution. All of these solutions are quite temporary. Some materials, even if you try to clean them with alcohol, they get worse. They fall apart more. I have had that happen. In this particular case, rubbing alcohol made it worse. It made it more melty. That's pretty bad. So I'm going to try another solution, which is baby powder. But first, I just wanted to share what could potentially be another good use if the material is sticky like that. And so in this case, even though it is sticky, there is a potential use case for this. If you have counterfeit Pokemon cards like these, you can use this sort of as like a dual disc, and they can hang on to your counterfeit Pokemon cards. So you have your Tentacruel there, you have your Bibarel there, you got your Mega Aggron. So this can hang on to your Pokemon cards for you because it's quite sticky. And you can just have a duel if you want. So I'm going to try baby powder on this thing. Let's go ahead and just give it a quick try. I have heard this. So here's the thing. I don't want to get baby powder in the, I don't want to get it caught up in the electronics and in the analog sticks. So I'm just going to put a little bit of on the handle here, and I'll see if it makes a difference. Now, I have heard from people that this can help, because right now this controller, you just can't touch it. So they said just put some on and rub it in. So I'm going to try that now. Oop, I'm getting some on the floor here. Let's give that a try. I'm going to rub that in. Okay, got it on the analog stick the way that I said that I didn't want it. Okay, this is so... They said wipe off the excess. Oh, this is so